Hello friends, welcome to the Point. In today's session, let's discuss about Gupta Empire. So after the breakup of Maurya Empire, the Satavahanas and Kushans, they emerged as two large political powers. The Satavahanas, they acted as stabilizing factor in Deccan and in South, to which they gave political unity and economic prosperity on the strength of the trade with Roman Empire. The Kushanas also performed the same role but in the north. So on the ruins of Kushana Empire, a new empire which established a good part of the former dominions of both Kushanas and Satavahanas. So this was the power of Guptas, who may have been of Vaishya origin. Chandragupta I, the founder of Gupta dynasty, was Sri Gupta, and he was succeeded by Gadotkacha. And these two, they were called as Maharajas. So more information is not available about Sri Gupta and Gadotkacha. So the next ruler was Chandragupta I, and he was the first to be called as Maharajadiraja. That means the great king of kings. This title, it indicates his extensive conquest. He strengthened his position by a matrimonial alliance with Licchavis. He married Kumara Devi, a princess of Licchavi family. So this added to the power and prestige of Gupta family. The Mehruli iron pillar inscription, it mentions his extensive conquest. Chandragupta I is considered to be the founder of Gupta era, so which start with his accession in 320 AD. Samudragupta is successor of Chandragupta, and Samudragupta, he was the greatest of the rulers of Gupta dynasty. The Allahabad pillar inscription, it provides a detailed account of his reign, and it refers to three stages in his military campaign. They are against some ruler of North India, his famous Dakshinapatha expedition against South Indian rulers, a second campaign against some other rulers of North India. So after these military victories, Samudragupta performed Ashwamedha sacrifice. He issued gold and silver coins with the legend, the restorer of Ashwamedha. So it is because of his military achievements, Samudragupta was hailed as Indian Napoleon. Chandragupta II. So Samudragupta, he was succeeded by his son Chandragupta II, who is called as Vikramaditya. Chandragupta II inherited the military genius of his father and extended the Gupta Empire by his own conquest. So he achieved this judicious combination of the policy of diplomacy and warfare. Through matrimonial alliances, he strengthened his political power. So he married Kuberananga, a Naga princess of central India. So he gave his daughter Prabhavati in marriage to Vakataka prince called Rudrasena II. And there is a political importance behind this. The fact is that Vakatakas occupied a geographical strategic position in the Deccan, and this alliance, it served a useful purpose when Chandragupta II, he undertook his campaign in western India against the Sakas. The greatest of the military achievements of Chandragupta II was his war against the Saka satraps of western India. Rudrasimha III, he was the last ruler of the Saka satrap, and he was defeated, dethroned, and he was killed. His territories in the western Malwa and Kathiawar peninsula, it was annexed into the Gupta Empire. And after this victory, he performed the horse sacrifice and assumed the title Sakari, which means destroyer of Sakas, and he called himself as Vikramaditya. And as a result of this conquest of western India, the western boundary of the empire, it reached to the Arabian Sea, which gained access to Broj, Sopara, Cambay and other seaports, and this enabled the Gupta Empire to control trade with the western countries. The famous Chinese pilgrim Fa Hien, he visited India during the reign of Chandragupta II. Fa Hien, he stayed in India for 9 years, and he spent 6 years in Gupta Empire, and he came to India by the land through Khotan, Kashgar, Gandhara and Punjab. So the main purpose of his visit was to see the land of the Buddha and to collect the Buddhist manuscripts from India. He stayed in Pataliputra for 3 years studying Sanskrit and copying Buddhist texts. So Fahin, he refers to the Gangetic Valley as the land of Brahmanism. Successors of Chandragupta II. So Kumaragupta, he was the son and successor of Chandragupta II, and his reign was marked by general peace and prosperity. Kumaragupta issued a number of coins, and his inscriptions are found all over the Gupta Empire. The important thing that was done by Chandragupta II was that he laid the foundation of Nalanda University, which emerged an institution of international reputation. So at the end of his reign, a powerful, wealthy tribe called Pushyamitras, they defeated the Gupta army. So at the time, a branch of Huns from Central Asia, they made attempts to cross Hindu Kush mountains and invade India. But it was his successor called Skandagupta who really faced the Hun invasion. So he fought successfully against the Huns and he saved the empire. And this war must have been a great strain on the government resources. So after Skandagupta's death, many of his successors like Purugupta, Narasimhagupta, Buddhagupta and Baladitya, they could not save the Gupta Empire from the Huns, and ultimately the Gupta power totally disappeared due to Hun invasion and later by the rise of Yashodharma in Malwa. Gupta administration. So according to inscriptions, the Gupta kings, they assumed titles like Parama Bhattaraka, Maharajadiraja, Parameshwara, Samrat and Chakravatin. So the king, he was assisted in his administration by a council that consists of chief minister, a Senapati, who is also called as commander-in-chief of the army, and many other important officials. A high official was called as Sandi Vigraha. And this was mentioned in Gupta inscriptions, and most probably he may be a minister for foreign affairs. The king maintained a close contact with the provincial administration through a class of officials called Kumaramatyas and Ayuktas. So the province in Gupta Empire, they were known as Buktis and provincial governors as Uparikas. They were mostly chosen among the princes. Buktis were subdivided into Vishyas or districts, and they were governed by Vishyapatis. So according to Fahin, there was no restriction on people's movement and they enjoyed a large degree of personal freedom. There was no state interference in the individual's life. So punishment was not severe. Just imposing a fine was a common punishment. Social life. During the Gupta period, the caste system, it became rigid. The Brahmins, they occupied the top ladder of the society. They were given enormous gifts by the rulers as well as other wealthy people. The practice of untouchability had slowly begun during this period. The position of women, it had also become miserable during the Gupta period. They were prohibited from studying the religious texts like Puranas, but it was insisted that they should be protected and generously treated by men. In the next session, let's discuss about Harsha and times. Thank you.